Our first award is the Public Safety Civilian Partnership Award for courageous service by a civilian to assist responders in emergency situations. Will Mr. Kevin Jeffries please come forward and join us on the stage? Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Justin Parak were nominated by the Missouri State Highway Patrol. Mr. Parak unfortunately could not join us today. On July 5th, 2022, Troop D troopers were dispatched to Missouri 13 in Greene County, where a vehicle was northbound in the southbound lanes. Upon investigations, troopers learned that a motorist driving an SUV had suffered a cardiac emergency and was unresponsive as his vehicle traveled north. The SUV drifted into the median and continued northbound. Two motorists who had been driving northbound separately, Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak, parked their vehicles on the shoulder and ran to intercept the uncontrolled SUV. Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak ran beside the vehicle in the median and attempted to awaken the occupant, who was slumped over the console toward the passenger seat. Then they tried to enter the vehicle from the passenger side, but the door was locked. They moved back to the driver's side of the vehicle and resumed their efforts to awaken the driver. The vehicle had now shifted from the median to traveling northbound in the southbound passing lane of the 4-lane highway. Oncoming traffic had to take evasive action to avoid a collision. Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak were finally able to enter the SUV, steer it back into the median, and stop the vehicle. Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak now saw the driver was not breathing and was in cardiac arrest. They pulled him from the vehicle and began administering CPR. They continued until the Ebenezer Fire Protection District personnel arrived. The victim, Mr. Richard Mogan of El Dorado Springs, had been driving home from a round of cancer radiation treatment in Springfield. He was subsequently treated by EMS personnel and transported to Mercy Hospital, Springfield, where he was treated and recovered. The Highway Patrol reunited him with Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak at Troop D headquarters in December. Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Parak acted bravely and without concern for their own safety. Their actions likely prevented a collision and saved at least Mr. Mogan's life. Mr. Jeffries, please receive your award.
Will Mr. Shane Childress please come forward and join us on the stage? Mr. Childress was nominated by the Branson Police Department. On August 13, 2022, a head-on collision occurred about 150 feet away from Shimmy's Food Truck Cafe on Fall Creek Road, just outside of Branson. A Jeep was in a ditch and burning. The front end of the vehicle was severely crushed, and a passenger was screaming in pain from the smoke-filled vehicle. Smoke was also coming from the sedan that was involved in the crash. The restaurant owner, Mr. Childress, immediately went to the scene with 3 fire extinguishers from the business. The driver of the sedan, who was alone, managed to get out of his car, but the scene was extremely dangerous and vehicle traffic continued on the road. Mr. Childress had a restaurant staff use a chair on casters from his business to wheel the injured man to the safety of the restaurant with the assistance of a Branson police officer. Mr. Childress then went to the burning Jeep. He deployed the fire extinguishers, but the fire continued to grow. A woman and child were able to get out of the back on their own. The front and side airbags had deployed in the front of the vehicle. Mr. Childress used kitchen knives to cut the driver's airbags and helped her get out of the vehicle. Next, he tried to get the passenger out. This was a large man screaming in pain and having trouble breathing because of the thick smoke. The passenger door was locked, so Mr. Childress climbed into the vehicle through the door. Mr. Childress, who is 5'7", then tried to get the trapped passenger out without success. The man's head was on the dashboard in the crushed vehicle. His left leg had been severely injured. At that point, the Branson Police Department's Sergeant Tanner Muckenthaler and Officer Brandon Gamble arrived on the scene and immediately went to work cutting the victim's seatbelt, and then quickly but carefully extricated the severely injured man from the crushed passenger compartment as the fire continued to burn. The Jeep was fully engulfed in flames within 45 seconds of the victim being extricated from the vehicle by the officers. Had it not been for the quick and resourceful actions of Mr. Childress and Muckenthaler and Gamble, the trapped man would have likely succumbed in the smoke and fire. Mr. Childress, please receive your award.
Will Ms. Sheila McMullen please come forward and join us on stage to receive the Public Safety Civilian Partnership Award on behalf of your son, Joseph Sapp. Mr. Sapp was nominated by the Branson Police Department. On December 12, 2022, Branson Police Sergeant Abe Jones responded to a call about a possible fight in progress in the parking lot of a Branson apartment complex. As Sergeant Jones attempted to arrest a suspect, the man violently assaulted him. Sergeant Jones was down on one knee, and as the man repeatedly punched him in the head. Joseph Sapp, who was 19 years old at the time, lived in the apartment building and saw what was taking place and immediately responded. He shoved the assailant away from Sergeant Jones and then repeatedly struck the attacker. Mr. Sapp's actions allowed Sergeant Jones to get back up on his feet and deploy his taser to quell the assailant. Without regard for his own safety, Mr. Sapp took immediate action to help a law enforcement officer in need of assistance. He prevented further injury to the officer, protected the public, and assisted in the assailant being taken into police custody. Before he took his heroic actions, Mr. Sapp had enlisted in the U.S. Army, which he joined this January. He is now stationed in Texas, and we're happy to have his mother, Ms. McMullen, with us today to accept his award. We certainly appreciate Mr. Sapp's service to our state and our nation, and definitely the Branson Police Department. Ms. McMullen, please receive your son's award.
Our next award is the Missouri Medal of Valor, which is our state's highest public safety award for extraordinary life-saving acts. I would ask Trooper Adam R. Shipley of the Missouri State Highway Patrol to please join us on the stage. At about 5 p.m. on January 25, 2022, Trooper Shipley heard radio traffic about an aggravated rape in progress at the Amadon Conservation Area in Madison County and immediately responded to the area. As he approached on County Road 253, he observed a 58-year-old man forcing a woman and young child towards a vehicle at knife point. The woman, who had just been sexually assaulted by the man, ran toward Shipley with her 4-year-old in her arms. Trooper Shipley exited his vehicle and pursued the attacker into the woods. He caught the man after about 60 yards. As Shipley attempted to handcuff him, the man reached for a knife in his waistband. The two fell to the ground as they fought. The man managed to get Trooper Shipley's pepper spray and taser, deploying both toward the trooper. The taser probes struck Trooper Shipley, but it was not effective. Although impaired by the pepper spray, he could see the man reaching again for the knife in his waistband. Trooper Shipley drew his duty pistol and discharged one round, striking the man in the chest. He attempted to administer first aid, but the attacker died at the scene. The attacker had recently completed a sentence for sexual assault and been released from prison. By responding quickly and acting decisively, Trooper Shipley prevented additional harm to an innocent mother and her child and ended the threat of further violence to the community. Trooper Adam R. Shipley, please receive your award.
Captain William E. Davis and Officer Rick Hershey of the Joplin Police Department, please come forward and join us on stage. On March 8th, 2022, Joplin Police Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed responded to a business for a disturbance call. As they attempted to take a suspect into custody, the man pulled a concealed gun and shot Corporal Cooper and Officer Reed, mortally wounding both officers. The gunman then fled the scene in Corporal Cooper's patrol car. Joplin police officers gave chase as the gunman fired at them. The gunman crashed the patrol vehicle and attempted to steal a minivan. Officer Hershey located the gunman and positioned his vehicle to prevent the gunman from fleeing in the minivan. The gunman fired at Officer Hershey, who received a life-threatening gunshot wound to his face. Captain Davis arrived on the scene and was also fired upon. He shot and killed the gunman. On a tragic day when 2 members of the Joplin Police Department were killed, the community was threatened. Officer Hershey and Captain Davis responded courageously, decisively, and ended a danger to the police department and the city of Joplin. Captain Davis, please receive your award. Officer Hershey, please receive your award.
Captain Barry W. Morgan, Jr. of the Mississippi County Sheriff's Office and Trooper Joshua J. Schenemeyer of the Missouri State Highway Patrol, please come forward and join us on the stage. On the morning of March 17, 2022, heavy fog enveloped Interstate 57 near Charleston, Missouri, contributing to a chain reaction crash that involved more than 45 vehicles. It also included many tractor trailers. The crash killed 5 people and injured more than a dozen others. Captain Morgan and Trooper Schenemeyer were among the first emergency personnel on the scene. Captain Morgan found a seriously injured driver trapped in the driver's seat in the remains of a semi. Its cab had been torn away and the driver was screaming for help. Trooper Schenemeyer, who had been assisting other motorists, arrived, and he and Captain Morgan attempted to pull away the crumpled dashboard and free the driver. So much of the tractor had been ripped away that the two stood on the engine block as they attempted the rescue. Fire service personnel had not yet reached the area of the crash scene, and trucks and cars were burning around the remains of the semi. The ground beneath it was covered with diesel fuel. Fire and intense heat were encroaching on all sides. Captain Morgan and Trooper Schenemeyer attempted to pull the driver out through the passenger door, but his legs were caught underneath the dashboard. With time running out, Trooper Schenemeyer ran to the driver's side of the truck, placing himself between two burning tractor trailers. Flames now burned overhead. Fire had spread to the tractor. Trooper Schenemeyer was able to free the driver's legs, and Captain Morgan pulled the driver out the passenger doorway as flames spread across the remains of the wreckage. The driver was transported to a local hospital. Sadly, he succumbed to his injuries as he was being flown to another hospital. In the midst of a massive crash scene, with fire burning all around them, Captain Morgan and Trooper Schenemeyer each displayed undaunted courage and resourcefulness, risking their own lives in an attempt to save the life of a severely injured truck driver. Captain Morgan, please receive your award. Trooper Schenemeyer, please receive your award.
Agent Donald W. Fessler of the Missouri Department of Conservation, please come forward and join us on stage. At 12:41 p.m. on June 27, 2022, Agent Fessler was on routine patrol when he heard a Missouri State Highway Patrol radio call about a major train derailment crash near Minden in rural Sheraton County, Missouri. At 12:51 p.m., Agent Fessler arrived on the scene before any other first responders. As he moved on foot toward a derailed Amtrak train with his medical bags, people were running toward him and pointing to a ditch. There, he found a truck driver whose dump truck had been struck by the train. Agent Fessler and a civilian began administering CPR, but the victim could not be revived. Agent Fessler then moved toward the train wreckage where there were many seriously injured passengers. He triaged the scene, rendered aid, and directed other arriving first responders. He then determined to climb into the train cars laying on their sides to search for and assist victims who could not evacuate. The interior was dark, hot, and chaotic. Agent Fessler searched for the most seriously injured with his flashlight. He found Anthony Bryant, an Amtrak employee who was bleeding profusely from his right shoulder and arm, which were trapped between the ground and the train wreckage. He quickly applied clotting material and gauze to stop the bleeding from the shoulder. He then began to dig out rock and debris from around Mr. Bryant's arm. Agent Fessler remained with Mr. Bryant for about 2 hours, keeping him calm as he continued to try to free his arm. Eventually, EMS and firefighters arrived with the jaws of life and other equipment to help free Mr. Bryant's arm. Mr. Bryant was pulled from the wreckage, strapped to a backboard. Agent Fessler would later visit Mr. Bryant at Missouri Orthopedic Institute as he recovered from the amputation of his right arm. Agent Fessler received thank you notes from train passengers in recognition of his attentive care and kindness. Arriving at a large scene of destruction with dozens of victims seriously injured, Agent Fessler remained calm and assisted many injured passengers. His compassionate care for Mr. Bryant likely saved Mr. Bryant's life. Agent Fessler, please receive your award.
Sergeant Tanner J. Muckenthaler and Officer Brendan D. Gamble of the Branson Police Department, please come forward and join us on the stage. On August 13, 2022, Sergeant Muckenthaler and Officer Gamble responded to a head-on collision on Fall Creek Road just outside of Branson's jurisdiction because there were reports of injuries. A Jeep was on fire with a man trapped inside the smoke-filled vehicle. The man was screaming in agony because of severe injuries and the toxic smoke. Smoke was also pouring out of a sedan. The situation demanded fast, resourceful action. Sergeant Muckenthaler quickly assisted in getting the driver of the sedan to safety, but a couple was trapped inside the Jeep. A civilian, Shane Childress, managed to get the Jeep's door unlocked and opened, dispersing some of the smoke. The driver exited, but the passenger was seatbelted in, suffering from a severely broken leg and unable to get out. The seatbelt would not release. Mr. Childress attempted to put out the fire with fire extinguishers without success. The fire was growing, and the toxic smoke in the cabin was stifling. Sergeant Muckenthaler used a knife to cut the passenger seatbelt. Officer Gamble now had arrived and attempted to assist by getting into the SUV through the driver's door, but was repelled by the smoke. He then joined Sergeant Muckenthaler at the passenger's door, and together they were able to lift the screaming man out of the vehicle. The two officers then moved him to a safe distance from the fire. They then instructed everyone to get away from the burning Jeep, which was fully engulfed in flames within 45 seconds. Had it not been for the quick actions of Sergeant Muckenthaler, Officer Gamble, and Mr. Childress, the passenger likely would have died in the smoke and fire. Sergeant Muckenthaler, please receive your award. Officer Gamble, please receive your award.
Corporal Terry A. Bible of the Missouri State Highway Patrol and Deputy Shane Blankenship of the Lawrence County Sheriff's Office, please come forward and join us on stage. On the afternoon of September 10th, 2022, Deputy Shane Blankenship was at the scene of a motorcycle crash on eastbound 44 in Lawrence County when he heard a vehicle stopping abruptly. As Deputy Blankenship looked to the west, he could see flames from another crash a few hundred yards down the road. As Corporal Bible arrived at the first scene, Deputy Blankenship directed him and Sarcoxie Fire Department firefighters to the second scene. There, Corporal Bible found two crashed tractor-trailers. Thick smoke was coming from one of them. A motorist ran to Corporal Bible and told him the truck was on fire and the driver was trapped. Corporal Bible grabbed his fire extinguisher and sprinted to the cab of the truck. He found the driver trapped with his legs pinned in by the seat, with the exterior and the rear of the cab on fire. Corporal Bible directed others on the scene to bring their fire extinguishers to the truck, since the fire department was not on the scene at that time. Inside the cab, Corporal Bible attempted to force the seat away from the driver's leg as the flames intensified. Understanding that every second mattered, once the fire department got to the scene, Corporal Bible exited the cab, instructed the crew to bring the Jaws of Life hydraulic rescue tool to the truck, and then helped pull a fire hose to the cab. Bible then covered the driver with an extra set of the fire department's bunker gear to protect him from the growing flames. Deputy Blankenship arrived, and the two applied pressure to the driver's seat as the fire department used the Jaws of Life to try to free the driver. With tires blowing up and flames moving into the cab, the fire department began spraying water on all the people in the cab to protect them. Bible and Blankenship continued to try to calm and reassure the driver, who was conscious throughout the ordeal. Eventually, the driver was freed with the Jaws of Life and was transported for medical treatment. Under the most harrowing circumstances, Corporal Bible and Deputy Blankenship remained calm and resolute in their heroic determination to risk their own lives to save the driver. Corporal Bible, please receive your award. Deputy Blankenship, please receive your award.
This is the second year that we are awarding the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. This annual medal was unanimously approved by the Missouri Medal of Valor Review Board in 2021 as a way to honor first responders whose courageous public service leads to serious injuries or death as they honorably carry out their official duties. This award recognizes those who sacrificed much. 6 of our Red, White, and Blue Heart Awards are being awarded posthumously. Our first recipient is firefighter Benjamin J. Polson of the St. Louis Fire Department. Mrs. Susan Polson, would you please join us on the stage? She's also being accompanied by Rebecca Slay, firefighter Polson's sister. On the morning of January 13, 2022, St. Louis Fire Department Truck 13 was dispatched to a building fire in the Hamilton Heights neighborhood in northwest St. Louis. A vacant 2-story brick structure was heavily involved in fire. Firefighter Polson stretched a 1 3/4-inch attack line into the burning structure to assist in conducting a rapid primary search. Firefighter Polson was on the second floor when the roof collapsed without warning, trapping him. An emergency radio call went out, and several fellow firefighters made entry in an attempt to rescue Firefighter Polson, but could not reach him because of the rapid fire progression and the deteriorating building conditions. Firefighter Polson was located and recovered by the St. Louis Fire Department's rescue squad. Firefighter Polson had earned a law degree and an MBA, but felt the call to public service, following in his father's footsteps into the St. Louis Fire Department. He had been with the department for less than 3 years, but in his brief tenure with the department, he had proven to be a leader and a committed teammate, devoted to serving the St. Louis community. Mrs. Susan Polson and Rebecca Slay, Lieutenant Governor Kehoe will present you with Firefighter Polson's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. Thank you for your son's devoted service and faithful service to the community.
Our next recipients of the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award are Corporal Benjamin L. Cooper, Officer Jake Reed, and Officer Rick Hershey of the Joplin Police Department. Will Officer Hershey, Ms. Roxy Cooper, and Ms. Bailey Reed please join us on stage. On March 8, 2022, Joplin Police Corporal Ben Cooper and Officer Jake Reed responded to a business for a disturbance call. As they attempted to take a suspect into custody, he pulled a concealed gun and shot Cooper and Reed, mortally wounding both officers. The gunman then fled the scene in Corporal Cooper's patrol car. Officers gave chase as the gunman fired at them. The gunman crashed the patrol vehicle and attempted to steal a minivan. Officer Hershey located the gunman and positioned his vehicle to prevent the gunman from fleeing in the minivan. The gunman fired at Officer Hershey, who received a life-threatening gunshot wound to his face. The bullet entered Officer Hershey's cheek under his left eye and traveled through his head before becoming lodged in his neck. He underwent surgery and was hospitalized for 8 days. He returned to work on light duty on June 30th, 2022. The bullet remains lodged in his neck to this day. Corporal Benjamin Cooper devoted his life to protecting others. He served in the United States Army from 1995 to 2001 and in the Joplin Police Department from 2005 to 2008 when he left to serve as a deputy sheriff in Colorado. He returned to the Joplin Police Department in 2013 and was promoted to corporal in 2016. He leaves a remarkable legacy of brave service. At age 22, Jake Reed had made the decision to fight violence and take on risks to serve his and protect his community. He had been a member of the Joplin Police Department for less than 5 years, but his heroic service and many contributions to the Joplin community will never be forgotten. His selfless service was magnified by the gift of life he provided to many others through organ donation. Miss Roxy Cooper, Lieutenant Governor Kehoe will present you with Corporal Reed's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. Thank you for your husband's devoted and faithful service. Miss Bailey Reed, Lieutenant Governor Kehoe will present you with Officer Jake Reed's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. Thank you for your husband's devoted and faithful service. Officer Rick Hershey, please receive your award.
Our next recipients of the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award are Patrolman Lane A. Burns and Corporal Garrett T. Worley of the Bonne Terre Police Department. Will Bonne Terre Police Chief Douglas Calvert and Joe and Julie Burns please join us on the stage? At about 12:30 a.m. on March 17, 2022, Bonne Terre police were dispatched to a disturbance at a local motel. Patrolman Burns and Corporal Worley arrived and were walking up to the room where the disturbance had been reported. As they approached the room, a gunman armed with a large caliber pistol walked out the door and ambushed the officers. Both officers were able to return fire, stopping the gunman's advance. The gunman died at the scene. Patrolman Burns was struck and mortally wounded in his upper torso, just above his ballistic vest. Corporal Worley was struck in his lower left leg and seriously wounded. He was treated at the scene and then flown to a hospital in St. Louis. Over the course of 18 months, he underwent several surgeries and received advanced treatments before returning to duty. Faced with an ambush, Patrolman Burns and Corporal Worley exhibited remarkable courage and quickly reacted to the attack, ending the threat the gunman posed to the community. Patrolman Burns gave his life protecting the community that he loved and swore to serve. Corporal Worley continues to combat violence and valiantly serve the people of Bonne Terre. Lieutenant Governor Kehoe will present Joe and Julie Burns with Patrolman Burns' Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. Thank you for your son's devoted and faithful service. Corporal Worley was not able to join us today. Chief Calvert will receive the award for Corporal Worley. Thank you, Chief Calvert, for his devoted and faithful service.
Our next recipient of the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award is firefighter Dustin W. Brandhorst of the Ebenezer Fire Protection District. Miss Erin Brandhorst, will you please join us on stage? On the night of March 18th, 2022, firefighter Brandhorst was responding to a structure fire as part of a mutual aid agreement between the Ebenezer Fire Protection District and the Stratford Fire Protection District. Firefighter Brandhorst was driving a tender truck with his seatbelt fastened, the truck's lights and siren activated. He was not able to negotiate a curve, and the truck overturned, killing Brandhorst. Firefighter Brandhorst had been a volunteer firefighter in the district for 3 years and was on his way to fulfilling his dream of becoming a full-time career firefighter. The husband and father of two, was incredibly committed to hard work and public service. In 2019, he was honored for serving more volunteer hours than anyone else in the district. His dedication to serving his community is characteristic of the vitally important work done each year by thousands of volunteers in Missouri's fire service. Ms. Erin Brandhorst, Lieutenant Governor, will present you with Firefighter Brandhorst's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award. Thank you for your husband's devoted and faithful service.
Our next recipient of the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award is Officer Daniel Francisco Vasquez of the North Kansas City Police Department. We invite to the stage Officer Vasquez's family. At about 10:40 a.m. on July 19, 2022, Officer Vasquez was on patrol when he observed a vehicle with an expired Missouri temporary license plate. Officer Vasquez activated his overhead light bar and initiated a traffic stop. As he approached the driver's side of the stopped vehicle, the driver discharged a firearm, striking Officer Vasquez and causing him to fall to the ground. The driver then exited the vehicle and shot Officer Vasquez again before fleeing the scene. Responding officers immediately provided first aid until paramedics arrived on the scene. Officer Vasquez was transferred to a hospital, but his injuries were too severe, and he was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Officer Vasquez's lifelong dream was to become a police officer. He gained experience towards his chosen profession by working as a security officer for a private firm patrolling in northeast Kansas City, and as a civilian detention officer with the Kansas City Police Department. In January 2021, he entered the Kansas City Regional Police Academy, where he graduated in July 2021. He had served with the North Kansas City Police Department for just over 1 year before his life was tragically cut short in a senseless act of violence. Lieutenant Governor will now present Officer Vasquez's Red, White, and Blue Heart Award to his family. Thank you for his devoted and faithful service.
Our next recipient of the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award is Captain Craig M. Cook of the Fort Osage Fire Protection District. Will Captain Cook please join us on stage? On the afternoon of October 21st, 2022, Fort Osage Fire Protection District Station 1 was dispatched to a natural cover fire in which about an acre of corn stubble was burning. Strong winds caused the fire to quickly advance. Additional fire engines and brush trucks were dispatched to fight the growing fire. Captain Cook and another firefighter were in a brush truck assigned to the eastern flank of the fire, where they were overcome by heavy smoke and lost their orientation as the fire advanced. They decided to drive out of the fire toward daylight. They drove into the leading edge of the advancing fire when the truck's engine died. Attempts to restart the engine failed. Captain Cook and his fellow firefighter decided to attempt to escape by running on foot. During the escape attempt through knee-high corn stubble, Captain Cook tripped and fell, fracturing a foot. The leading edge of the fire overran Captain Cook, causing serious burns. A mayday was called. A civilian was able to reach Captain Cook and evacuated him and his fellow firefighter to safety. Captain Cook was transported to a burn center with severe injuries, including third-degree burns of about 30% of his body, including his face and head. Captain Cook spent over 4 months in a hospital and a rehabilitation facility, undergoing several surgeries and having several fingers amputated. He will have to undergo additional surgeries. Captain Cook has paid a very high price for his selfless dedication to public service and protecting his community. Captain Cook, please receive your award from Lieutenant Governor Kehoe.